think that this life is hell and you pay for new beings to be brought to this hell. So you are responsible for those beings who had perfect chance never ever to experience this hell on earth, to be born. They could have avoided this. But because of you, they were born. You cause new beings to be born to this hell. Welcome to the second part of our debate comparing vegan and extinctionist approaches. In some time, I'll publish the third part of this debate. Meanwhile, today on the Pro-Extinction channel, I'm scheduled to take part in a live debate, most likely live, though I'm not entirely sure yet, on a topic that has sparked quite a bit of interest among my conversation partners, spirituality. We are planning to meet at 5 p.m. Central European Time. As for debate presented here, I think it's worth listening to it calmly until the end and reflecting on what's been said. After a slightly chaotic start, I believe a few important points were made. Let's listen in.
Let's forget all these terms: veganism, extinctionism, sentientism, everything. Let's just forget them, right? So if you take movements in history like black rights or women's rights, they never call themselves hooligans. We practice slave-free lifestyle, slave product-free lifestyle. Nobody did that. They only concentrated on message. So what is the problem? Black people are suffering, animals are suffering. This is the problem. So let's start from scratch. Animal suffering is a problem. I think you also, by the way you talk, I think you also agree that natural suffering is also something that is bad for animals. So animal suffering is a problem. So how do we solve it? Let's forget terms, everything. Let's just go to the basics, right?
But
So let me. So for predation, let me go back to the question. For predation, you said that uh, I don't know how future is going to look. So we might have a way to feed all the animals vegan diet. So my question is, I don't know how future will look. So I guess in 200 years I can walk through walls. Is this a correct thing? Because we are talking about literal physics here, because there are trillions of quadrillions of fish. And I think as anti-species you agree with insect suffering also. So there is like literally quintillions of insects. My question is, and most of them carnivorous, my question is, how are you going to pick each and every red ant from the sand and feed them meat? You didn't answer that. So physically, when is it going to be possible? Will it be possible? Because it's like saying in 1,000 years from now, walking through walls will be possible. It's never going to be possible, right?
I don't know when this should be possible, but I know when would be possible to execute what you're proposing. For example, vacuum decay. For this, we would need about 5 billions of years to implement this, if possible, if ever. So
No, no,
I
no,
did some
no, no, no,
calculation for
no, no, no.
for.
Even the world's no, 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 no.
But anyway,
Even the world's
you prevented
topmost. No, just a sec, just a
Daniel,
sec.
answer my question.
Even
This is
even the
wrong.
world's let me answer you. Even the world's topmost scientists cannot say for sure that vacuum decay when it will be possible. It might very well be 5 billion years, and it
I know
might
what you
very
need
well
for this.
be
I know what is
50 years.
necessary for this. I did
But you
calculation.
seem to be so no, 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 you seem to be so sure about it. I want to know how.
I know what's the
Are you a physicist?
calculation.
Are you researching on vacuum decay? Are you
Quantum
doing that?
physics is my passion. I have some knowledge and some idea about this, and I checked the calculation. So
Okay, so
at least
how are
my
you playing
estimations
in
are based on
quantum physics?
calculations.
What what what
But
mathematics in
this is
quantum
wrong. That
physics?
you. Sorry, I
Which
wanted to hear
which part
Daniel's
of quantum
answer.
physics? When I
We
ask some
are
sensible
away
questions,
from.
you immediately switch to Daniel.
Why are we not
My
talking?
question
Why?
is,
Yeah.
what part of quantum physics, what research paper, what evidence do you have that vacuum decay causing it will take 5 billion years? Because because vacuum decay is just a theory. It's not even been experimentally proven yet.
No,
But
we know
you seem
exactly
to be
how
so
much
sure
energy.
vacuum decay will cause
Okay,
5 billion deaths.
yeah, we know exactly how much energy we need for this phenomenon, and we
Okay.
need
How much?
so we need 871 trillions times more energy, focused energy, than humankind can generate right now in Large Hadron Collider. So we would need the
Okay.
energy of billions of stars. So
Where is the
which means
no, no.
actually the whole galaxy energy to generate this level of energy. And we know exactly and precisely how much energy we need to cause this. We need the energy of billions of
That,
stars to cause this.
no, no, no.
And I can tell you,
That's where
we
you're
know
mistaken.
also,
That's where you're mistaken because
we know exactly
vacuum.
and precisely what we need.
No,
But
no,
anyway,
no.
you please,
Because no, no, no.
Daniel couldn't answer
Higgs
my question.
boson particle, Higgs
Guys,
Please
boson
let
particle
Daniel speak.
existing
Please,
in a
Daniel speak.
higher.
going too deep into details that shouldn't be discussed at this level of
Uh-huh.
our debate. So
Okay.
I think we should first, which we didn't do at the beginning, because we focused on defining veganism, also define extinctionism, which we didn't do, and I think it
Yeah,
will be an
I
important
hope we will do
part
this
of all
second
of
round,
that.
but there was too much
Yeah,
discussion already.
I
But
know, I know. We are starting to delve into topics that I think are not important for the philosophy itself. Neither veganism nor extinctionism or the practical details are to be discussed in like on uh, another level of the discussion. Uh, I wanted to
I
criticize
wanted
one
to
thing.
criticize one thing.
Uh, yeah, Ivan, could you mute yourself? Thank you. Uh, I wanted to criticize one thing, which is this all or nothing framing of the discussion. That there are either two alternatives, either extinction or like remodeling of the nature itself in a very specific manner. There is a spectrum of ways we could achieve both extinction and remodeling all nature to get rid of suffering in it. And both those aims are really ambitious, and some would argue both are comparably impractical, or at least impractical at the technological and socio-economical level we are in at that moment. And that's my short critique of the whole discussion. But I would like to start anew with actually defining what we mean by extinctionism, because it might turn out that our definitions are vastly different.
how you understand extinctionism?
I know that extinctionism is not an official philosophy. There are no papers that would like precisely define what it is, and there are people with conflating opinions on what extinctionism is. So I generally like to um, define extinctionism in a more broader, as a more broader term, and to differentiate between different types of extinctionism. So, in general, I think that extinctionism is a philosophical and ethical position stating that existence of sentient life is ultimately negative, and claiming that we should aim at eventually preventing all future sentience from coming into existence. And it is usually stated in a way emphasizing the disvalue of suffering in the world. So this negative value of life, of sentient life existing, stems from the suffering in the world. So extinctionism would generally claim that the painless extinction of life would bring an end to the suffering and prevent future pain, and therefore it should be considered a valid proposal. Or depending on the type of extinctionism, it may also be considered a moral obligation. And now, depending on axiological, ethical, practical, and ontological factors, several types of extinctionism can be distinguished. And I think the most widely shared extinctionist position is a centrocentric one, which states basically that suffering itself is a problem, and sentience implies suffering or other types of this value that can be brought down to suffering, and that extinction is mm, like instrumentally the best way to prevent future suffering and to reduce suffering already existing. And that's this broad definition of extinctionist is what I would use at that level of the discussion.
You run channel Cosmic Atheist. So could you please tell us, is there any difference between atheism and extinctionism?
Basically, atheism is a form of extinctionism that, depending on who wants to define it, may be synonymous with extinctionism in this centrocentric form, or could have like additional assumptions like atheism or ethical naturalism or negative utilitarianism. So I don't know. I think it is safe to assume that atheism is a subset of extinctionism, and extinctionism itself is a broader term.
Okay, Exi, could you please tell your understanding, explain your understanding of existentialism, and please speak a little bit louder because you are quieter than others.
Extinctionism, as in the name you can understand already, it's about the solution for sentient beings. The inevitable solution, the only solution that can be made against the existence of suffering.
Could you please speak louder? Or you don't want to add anything? Of course, I can during editing. I can make your volume up a bit, but it's you finished. How about you, Jivan? Please tell us your understanding of extensionism. It's for me, it's hard to pronounce, and also, I really want to know what it means that you are ex-vegan. Does it mean that you don't describe yourself, you don't call yourself vegan, or that means that you got back to eating meat and other animal products? What does it mean?
See, first of all, there are no many extinctionisms. There is only just one extinctionism, as of I know. So, like our core principles are rationalism and empathy or equality. Okay. So, if you are really rational and if you are really empathetic, there won't be 100 ways to approach an issue. Okay. If you are really rational, you can come to a conclusion. This is the way forward. Okay, this is the way we can rationally eradicate the suffering of all beings. So first of all, there are no many extinctionisms. If there is any other group of people who uses the same name, uh, we can't associate with them at all, because either they are irrational, or might be they are discriminating some groups of animals, or due to some irrational reason they might be doing that. So I think Daniel has mentioned some other forms of extinctionisms. Like, I guess he told about sentiocentric extinctionism. I don't know if you can elaborate on that. So what is the difference? So all these things you have to elaborate, then we can like actually debunk that. How, whether it's how it is irrational or how it is immoral, we can debunk that. And the other thing is that when I say I am an ex-vegan, I really consider veganism as a useless thing. Like, it doesn't make any sense for me. It doesn't make any difference. It's like any other lifestyle choices. Okay, whether I'm having a specific kind of diet, whether I'm having processed food or unprocessed food. So all these things depends on people. Because ethically, if you are thinking, so vegans are basically against fishing, right? So you are against fishing. You are not supposed to eat fishes. But when we think rationally, this mechanized trawling, large scale fishing, is leading to extinction of marine species, right? So even if you don't consume fishes, so what is the end result actually? You are not fishing them, but fishes obviously are gonna be eaten by other fishes, right? That's how nature works. So if you don't eat a fish, if you don't fish, like other fishes, other bigger fishes are gonna eat that fish. So it is like a useless act. It is not going to make any change to the condition of the victim or the sufferer. there is no difference for that fish whether you are eating, a human is eating the fish, or another fish or any other animal, is a bear or something, is hunting the fish. There is basically no difference. Okay, so when we consider all these things, veganism is just a dogmatic. It doesn't have a proper reason behind it, or a reason. So that is one thing. So I don't consider myself as a vegan, or I don't identify by any kind of lifestyle. That's the thing.
You didn't answer my question on whether you consume animals or not, and why it is important, why it matters. Because, okay, if about wild fish and fishing wild fish, not farmed fish, it makes some sense what you are saying, that if we don't eat them, they might end up eaten by another fish. Maybe they are lucky to survive and live their life, maybe. But it's different about farmed animals, and this is the answer why vegans, like, first of all fight against human exploitation. Because if you care about animals, if you think that life is so horrible that we should be heading to extinction, so why the hell do you support breeding more animals? Because if about wildlife, there is some difference. It's not about that we don't care. There are two differences between farmed animals and wildlife. Two differences. Why we care about farmed animals first? Because this is something that we can have influence on. So I'm practically thinking person. I want to get some effect. I have so little influence that I want to have at least some influence. So farmed animals is the field where we as humans can have some influence. We, at this stage of development, we don't have enough resources to make a huge change for wildlife. Maybe except the reducing the amount of wildlife. This is mainly the only thing we can do, but we don't have enough resources, and humans don't care enough to even have this will, but we don't have resources above all. But if about farmed animals, this is something we really have influence. So therefore, vegans focus first of all on farmed animals, because this is something we can change, and the majority, at least of mammals living on Earth are farmed animals. Absolute majority of highly intelligent, highly emotional animals are farmed animals. So this would be a huge difference if we reduce or remove this. This would be a total difference. And this is first thing, that it's about having realistic influence, about being realistic, having some power to change. So therefore we care about farmed animals first. And there is the second moral issue, that if about wildlife, we have no influence whether they are born or not. But if about farmed animals, we bring them to existence, we breed them. So you are supporting now. So you think that this life is hell, and you pay for new beings to be brought to this hell. So you are responsible for those beings who had a perfect chance never ever to experience this hell on Earth, to be born. They could avoid it. They could have avoided this. But because of you, they were born. You cause new beings to be born to this hell. Yes or no?
See, first of all, your assumption is completely wrong. So you said that we don't have any influence regarding the wild animals that are being born right now. Obviously, we have an influence. 100% we have an influence. That's what, for example, World Watch Institute's data, or what documents like UNFA has provided. So if you are a vegan, almost around 30 feet of jungle you are gonna save per day. So this is what you advertise, right? So this is how you advocate for veganism. So that's what they advocate. So you are gonna save 30 square feet of jungle per day. So in that jungle, in that area of land, a lot of wild animals will locate and they'll be reproducing, right? So if altogether animal farming is gonna get banned and it's gonna stop, almost 75% of our total agriculture land in this world is gonna be freed up, and naturally it will get rewilded. So in this area, like much more amount of wild animals are gonna get populated. So everything basically depends on resources, right? So all those resources which were going to farmed animals will be used up by wild animals right now, and they will be reproducing. So what is actually the benefit here? And both me and you know that both wild animals and farmed animals are suffering right now, are suffering like hell. You cannot literally compare the pain of living inside a cage to the pain of getting ripped apart, being eaten alive. So both are painful. Both deserve consideration, and you are not actually bringing any change, right? Instead of farm animals that were going to be born because of you, there will be wild animals who are going to be born and who are going to suffer. So literally you are doing nothing. You are just shifting this burden of that farm animals are suffering right now to a group of wild animals. That's all.
You guys are sure that once we remove or reduce development of farms, automatically at this place the forest will grow? Yes, no other project. I don't know, maybe swimming pool. No, not swimming pool. There will be forest there. You are so sure that automatically in this full of poisons soil there will be soon. But okay, in one point I agree with you. Yes, you are right that this is the argument used by vegan activists, forestation. I agree. At some point, I agree with you. But Steve, the question to you. So you are also sure that automatically when the land is freed from farms, there will be forest there. And for the sake of wild animals, you are going to pay someone to breed unborn sentient beings to solve the problems of wildlife. So you think you have the right to engage unborn the beings who have the perfect chances to never be born to this hell. So you have the right to delegate the responsibility for the sake of wild animals, breed some more farm animals. Yes, you think you have
I
this
got your
moral
point. Can I start
right?
answering? Yeah. See, the thing is that there doesn't necessarily need to be like an Amazon forest. Just a patch of a grassland could host millions of insects and lizards and frogs. You just imagine, a size, an area the size of a mall is cleared out. How many thousands of lizards, frogs, insects, birds, etc., can move in there? So it doesn't necessarily need to be a forest. It can be a grassland, it can be shrubs, and it just needs to be wild. And no, we cannot build a swimming pool for 35 million square kilometers. Uh, so that is one thing. And the second thing is actually you are misrepresenting us. We are not saying that you contribute to animal industry and then solve wild animal suffering with it. We are not saying that. So obviously, we are anti-species. We are the two anti-species, despite what vegans claim. So we don't discriminate farmed animals or the wild animals. So our point is that you cannot save the lion or the zebra, right? So the only way for them, for the only solution for them is extinction. The same way, you cannot say that okay, you increase farms and then solve wild animal suffering. That's what Jeevan mentioned. You increase, you close all the animal industries and then increase forests. Both of them, both of these wild and farmed animals deserves consideration. I think he made it very clear. So that is one thing. And the second thing is your point about natural in nature animals being free, and maybe they'll be lucky. No, they are not. So let me say a deer is there, and the deer doesn't get eaten by a lion. It escapes the first time, it escapes the second time, it escapes the third time. It has to die naturally. And that natural death is even more, this is a fact. This doesn't mean that I am supporting slaughter. This is the fact that natural death, organ failure, cancer, diseases, stuff like that is more painful than what a slaughterhouse is giving them. And again, as Jeevan said, we are just giving you the idea why natural suffering is bad. That doesn't mean that we are saying farmed animal suffering is better. Of course, farmed animal suffering is one of the biggest sufferings, and that is also a major part of the reason why we need extinction. But the thing we are saying is that we are not going to fight to increase wild animal suffering or to increase farmed animal suffering or to decrease farmed animal suffering and thereby increasing wild animal suffering, right? And no, there are not going to be swimming pools, there are going to be forests. Because see, even if you build cities, right, your house probably has thousands of ants, right, hundreds of lizards. Your backyard has squirrels, birds, earthworms, which are comparatively sentient, and they too deserve extinction, right? So,
I have
whatever you do, there are going to be animals, and we do not support increasing urban animal suffering or wild animal suffering, pet animal suffering, human suffering. We don't care. We will not fight for increasing, because this is what is going to happen. Because even some people talk about antinatalism, right? So they say that okay, if you have a child, then the child is going to suffer. So if I don't have a child, then that means that literally a lot of forest is going to be saved. And instead of my child, that resources are going to be consumed by an animal. As an anti-species, I don't care whether my child is suffering or a random deer or a random rabbit in a forest is suffering. I literally don't care. So I don't agree with antinatalism as well. I think antinatalism is too much focused on humans alone. That is selfish. And as you said, we need to empathize and extend our moral consideration, circle of moral consideration to all animals, because it doesn't make sense to say that one suffering matters less and one suffering matters more. So I'm not going to say that okay, increase this suffering, decrease this suffering, be an anti-natalist, be a vegan, be a be a hardcore carnist who is going to invest a lot on dairy farms and gonna destroy the forests. I'm not going to say that. I cannot say that. I cannot say kill this child instead of that child. Both are children to me, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept reality. Okay, this is how it is. It's sadistic. You both the lion, both the deer and the lion deserves consideration, right? I am not going to invest my time on saving the deer or feeding it to the lion. I'm going to invest my time on ending this whole system that that causes sentient beings to suffer inevitably. So social justice movements, technology, etc., these cannot combat suffering. In history, always suffering has been transferred to another species. It has changed forms because of technology and social reforms, but it has never ended. All beings suffer from different things. So this is never going to end unless we cause extinction. So I'm not going to discriminate any of the children. I'm gonna put my time, the time I have, the resources I have is very limited. I'm going to put my time on rationalizing this society towards extinctionism, towards anti-speciesism. Extinctionism automatically includes anti-speciesism, right? Unlike the fake anti-speciesism vegans practice, this is real anti-speciesism. This is real consideration for all animals. I'm going to include that, and I'm going to rationalize society so that they can take decisions as an extinctionist. Tomorrow, yes, an extinctionist society will decide to end both wild animal suffering and farmed animal suffering. An extinctionist society will even think of suffering that might exist in other planets if we come across that information. So that is the society that I want to create. That is the society that is actually rational. That is the society that knows the stuff really. Okay, this is life. They are suffering here meaninglessly. This lion hunting a zebra, this cycle that has been going on for billions of years, this doesn't make any sense. This is totally unnecessary. That is the society that
Let
is going to
others speak, okay?
actually solve shit.
Mhm.
Not a vegan society. Not
Mhm.
these moronic vegans who are going to increase forests, and literally feed deer to a lion, feed fishes to a whale instead of eating themselves. Because as Jeevan said, there is no difference for a fish which is caught in a whale's mouth or a fishing net. It's as simple as that. That is not the world I'm going to create.